Adjudication now reconvenes with the discussions on the fiscal year 2017 budget proposal from the Guam Fire Department. I want to preface this budget hearing with the news that just after lunch, the public auditor did release the 2015 audit of the government of Guam and has confirmed that we are now at a cumulative general deficit of about 119 million. Now more than ever, we all have to understand that increasing expenditures against potential decline or flat revenue levels may not be realistic. We may all have to come to that realization either now or at some time in the future. With that short preface, after letting all the air out of your balloon, Chief, you may now do your presentation.
It's all good. Ready to start? Hafa Vice Speaker, Senator Morrison, Senator Adat. My name is Joey Nicholas, the Fire Chief for the Guam Fire Department. Thank you for this opportunity to be here today for the fiscal year 2017 Guam Fire Department budget review process. This legislature's continuous support of the Guam Fire Department over the past years and during my time as your Fire Chief has been recognized and appreciated. Along with the administration, we must continue to foster and increase our collaboration to ensure that the Fire Service of Guam remains the benchmark fire department of the South Pacific, comparable to the best fire department stateside. Just as in years past, I have worked closely with BBMR and DOA to ensure that we have a realistic budget that meets our mission mandates, increases efficiencies while also increasing capabilities. I am committed to seeking ways to decrease expenditures while also seeking revenue enhancement, or at the very least, recoup the cost to provide services. These efforts will ensure that our personnel consisting of firefighters, E911 emergency medical dispatchers, administrative non-uniform employees, and mechanics are led, paid, trained, and equipped to perform their duties, resulting in lives saved and property protected. Continually, we are challenged with an increased attrition rate over the past 4 years through retirement and other means, resulting in a forced reduction of 69 positions. Retirement in particular has produced many vacancies in senior ranking positions, requiring personnel to assume duties well above their pay grade. This is necessary to maintain the minimum manning requirements as required by the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, and Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA standards. Including other leave and military deployments, the manpower challenge has also resulted in an increase in irregular overtime expenditures up to $172,000 a pay period. We continue to adjust for shortages by transfer of personnel to rebalance rank, experience, firefighters with advanced skills, and military reservists so that we can absorb these challenges with the resources available. Recruitment and promotions are authorized in FY16 and projected by August of this year. However, we will not see relief for another 8 months. Highlights of this fiscal year 16 start with the hiring of the Administrative Services Officer. Hafa Senator Ogden, thank you for being here. The specifications for the full replacement of the E911 system is currently under review with the Attorney General in accordance with the GSA procurement process. Within this budget and through community partnerships, we have done capital improvements to our facilities and maintained our current fleet. Firefighters have received new personal protective equipment or bunker gear, scuba sets, and hazardous material response equipment. Our hazmat response capability increased with a heavy rescue truck, and we received 2 medium rescue trucks with 2 40-foot Sea Arc boats equipped with the latest in navigation systems for our search and rescue units. With federal funding, we procured 2 SUVs to replace our aged advanced life support vehicles, and back in March, we cut the ribbon on a new rescue station at the Hagana Marina, which has already made the difference in response to several incidents of immediate threat to life safety. Hafa Senator Underwood, thank you for being here. In FY17, we look forward to the long-awaited installment of the next-gen E911 system. We are working with GURA to relocate and build a new Sinahanya Fire Station and training ground. I continue to take advantage of federal programs to procure fire trucks, tankers, and a high-rise apparatus. We are also going through the process of creating and establishing an emergency medical technician position with the intent to recruit initially with limited term employees to ascertain the advantages of staffing ambulances with non-firefighters as a cost-saving measure. To demonstrate our efforts towards revenue enhancement, we have conducted analysis on the appropriate fees and fines updates needed to recover the cost of providing services and lessen our dependence on the general fund. In fire prevention, our fees and fines are antiquated and far below the industry standard for communities and economies of our scale. For example, it costs $25 to conduct an inspection for a small storefront, while it costs the same amount to inspect any of our two-month hotels. In emergency medical services, we charge less than 25% of the allowable reimbursable costs of Medicaid, Medicare. And finally, for our fire suppression responses, we are nowhere near the industry standard. To close out FY 2016, we are projecting a shortfall of $838,092 with reserves of $98,524 held. We do expect that the reserves will be released, leaving a shortfall of $739,568, primarily caused by increased irregular overtime due to attrition. As per Department of Administration, we expect to hire by August 25 fire crews, and we project that we will expend $126,575 for salary and benefits, leaving $906,712 in the vacancy pool cost account. I am requesting authorization to apply the $906,712 to our shortfall, which will create a lapse of $167,144. I hope this will be an acceptable solution to close out GFD fiscal year 2016. Moving forward to our FY17 budget submission, the general fund portion accounts for the true personnel costs to include overtime projections, the recruitment of 25 additional firefighters, and promotions of uniformed personnel to battalion chief, fire captain, and fire lieutenant or fire service specialist in the fiscal year 2016, and promotions for fiscal year 2017. The largest increase is due to the hiring of our new administrative services officer and a civil service ordered reinstatement of a heavy equipment mechanic 2 for old salary and benefits back to 2013. All other increases in administrative and support services are as a result of our growing fleet and increases in services such as medical oxygen refill, vehicle and building maintenance, and trash disposal services. You will see decreases in both of our special funds. The decreases in the Fire, Life, and Medical Emergency Fund, or FLAME Fund, was adjusted based on issued projections and a ceiling cap. The need for emergency equipment has decreased significantly due to our purchases in FY16. However, we do intend to procure 2 ambulances, an arson investigation van, and other response vehicles to maintain an adequate rotation of our fleet. The E911 Special Fund was also decreased based on issued projections and a ceiling cap. However, it still includes the estimated $300,000 plus a year lease and maintenance of a new E911 system, replacing our current system or phase 1 of our long-term goal for E911. This is reflected in the object class change from capital outlay 450 to contractual 230 to supplement the cost of a lease program. In all, the Guam Fire Department is requesting $38,854,452 for fiscal year 2017. This is $2,041,027 or 5.54% increase from our current FY16 budget. We are confident that with the governor being provided the necessary budget tools, such as transfer authority to cover unanticipated expenditures, this will sustain our current progress in improving our level of public service. The Guam Fire Department is committed to meet our island's expectations to provide the best service we can, and I am personally committed to work with each one of you to ensure the needs of our island are addressed within the realm of the fire service and public safety. Thank you again for allowing me this opportunity. I look forward to your questions and recommendations.
Thank you, Chief. You mentioned that your overtime is $172,000 a pay period?
Yes, it's risen back. Yes, the last pay period was $172,000. It's the highest that we've paid to date. It's been gradually increasing. Beginning of the fiscal year, it was around $10,000, $15,000, and gradually increasing as firefighters retired. In December, we had, I believe, 5 retirees that just caught us off guard. We weren't projecting it. They just decided they wanted to retire. So that caused a chain reaction and movement of personnel, and thus overtime expenditures.
Yeah, because when my office did an analysis, in 14, your total overtime was 3.1. Then in 2015, it went to 3.3. And then this morning, they advised me that year-to-date, it was 3.2. And I told them they had to be mistaken. And now you've just confirmed to me that over the next 3 months, we're going to get to 4.4.
Correct. And so how we've been able to, to stay under $1 million as far as a shortfall towards the end of the year is utilizing the leftover appropriation from retirees that have vacated their position and using their salaries to supplement for the overtime costs.
In this year's budget, I purposely put in a provision prohibiting the use of the vacancy fund for promotions, because that is what you guys did with it, and I decided I had to put a stop to that because we were setting aside the vacancy fund for the very, very specific purpose of recruiting new, NEW, new firefighter ones, not to promote all the way up and down the line. You were allocated $1 million in the vacancy fund. How have you guys utilized the
No, we have not. So, like I stated in my testimony, we are trying to hire and looking to pick up 25 recruits by August, and which will only result in us using $126,000 out of that $1 million.
Okay, but we provided you.
Yes, you did.
$1 million.
Yes, you did.
And you only used $126,000 by
Correct.
the end of August.
We have yet to use it.
Yet to use it.
Yes. So it's the recruitment
Why
process.
Why is it taking so long?
Processes. We are working closely with Department Administration, recruitment branch, to recruit. Priorities, I guess, throughout the fiscal year, specifically going to DOC and GPD. We have been unable to start our process.
So after we provided you $1 million and you haven't utilized it, and now you're going to increase your overtime by $1 million from last year because you haven't utilized the vacancy fund.
Correct. Now, either way, Senator, it would have the timing, because when it takes about 2 months to even recruit a list. We don't have an established list like the police or DOC and other public safety. The last time they tried to certify a list was in 2012. That list has since expired. So based on history, it takes at least 2 to 3 months to even establish a list and then hire. And then it takes another 6 months to train fire recruits to where we can utilize them in the field. So even if we hired at the beginning, we still would have been paying overtime for at least 8 months.
Okay, but we've known for several years that we need to recruit new.
Yes.
Why do we need to continue to put a list together? Why can't we have an open list that continues to be available to you so you could fill 25 in last December, 25 in May of this year, and 25 in August?
You're absolutely correct, Senator. I believe that is the best way to do it, to establish an annual order of merit list, a certified list of applicants that is, I guess, updated and reviewed every year. But whether it be, and I won't speak on behalf of Department of Administration, but I assume it's about resources, personnel, staff, and the multiple agencies that are competing to get their attention. So again, I guess I can refer the answer to that question to DOA, or I can get it for you from them.
How much is being held in reserve by the administration today?
For me, it's 98,000.
Oh, so you didn't have a full 15% withholding?
No.
Oh. You're
Yeah.
very lucky. I'll let you chair while I catch my breath.
Good afternoon, Chief, and to all of the firefighters. Thank you for your thorough presentation in regards to your requests and your budget. So if we could just go item by item. First of all, I'd like to inquire, how many uniformed firefighters do you presently have on board?
I'm going to 232. I was going to say 230.
232.
Correct.
How many civilian employees?
10?
10 civilian employees. So not too long
Well, if we're also including the 911 dispatchers, that'll be 33.
Okay, yeah. Okay, and then you're looking at having lost in a reduction in force of 69 positions, all uniformed firefighters in the last 4 years?
Majority uniformed firefighters, correct.
So just using the same timeline, how many firefighters have you been able to recruit?
In 2013 was our last cycle of 30. So yes, we have a net loss of 39.
Yeah. Okay,
And in 2013, Senator, we were still short, even with that new cycle.
what's your ideal number of uniformed firefighters?
304 is the minimum uniformed firefighters that we would like to have to provide the basic services that we're providing today.
So in addition to the 25, you understand why the vacancy pool fund was established under the guidance of the chair, and why he's continued to push that, in fact, we try to recruit as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
So we offset some of the overtime requirements. Now, just for purposes of an inquiry that was made, and I just want to make sure that it's cleared on the record, Chief, do you accumulate overtime?
Do I accumulate overtime? No.
Correct.
I wish I did.
Who are eligible who are eligible in your department for overtime?
Everybody but me.
Everybody but you.
Yes.
Okay. So during the course of this fiscal year, you've never generated or accumulated overtime.
Correct.
And thank you.
And DOA would not allow me to either. So.
And the law would not allow you. So,
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So thank you very much for clarifying that, because sometimes it's kind of difficult to understand during the use of some of these media sources out there. Not our media partners, but the mediums. Unfortunately, information like that is leaked out, and it needs to be clarified on the record.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah.
I believe in full transparency. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Now, with regards to your Sidnahanya Fire Station, I know that you're working in partnership not only with GPD but also GURA to be able to try to successfully complete that. I do know that the parcels of property have been or is in the process of being acquired.
Yes.
So we're still 2-3 years out from the completion of that structure. Is that what we're looking at in terms of timeline?
At least 2, based on our last fire station, Agat Fire Station, on the construct of that. So about 2 years, yes.
About 2 years out, yeah, because they still have to acquire the property and then obviously the plans and
Yes, sir.
identifying the funding source. Okay, with the, I know that you alluded to revenue enhancements, but I was looking for a key phrase or statement here that says that we will be proposing, but it says you start off to demonstrate our efforts towards revenue enhancement. We have conducted an analysis, and then he goes on to allude to the fees and fines are antiquated, but it doesn't provide specifics in terms of where you are in this process.
So in working with you, Senator, I know we've had this conversation before, you being my oversight chair. I wanted to make sure that we crossed our T's and dotted our I's, make sure that our analysis was complete. Be our own devil's advocate and answer all the questions. We know how sensitive raising fees can be. So I want to do my best to make it as bulletproof as possible. And then I had every intent of presenting it to you and working with you to create a bill.
Any particular timeline are you looking at within the next 6 months, within the next,
Prior to the FY.
okay,
Yeah.
prior to the commencement of the next FY?
Yes.
Okay, it's interesting timing because obviously it won't give us the opportunity to backtrack and,
Right.
and reconsider some of the
And I
numbers.
do understand
Mr.
the
Chair, but-
timing. Yes.
No. But, okay, looking at your 25 recruits, let's say hypothetically, if in fact a vacancy pool fund is once again established by the chairman into fiscal year 17, I guess my question would be, would we anticipate to wait until July or August again of 2017, calendar year 2017 to?
The biggest obstruction is the certification of a list. Once that list is established, if we were given the ability to bring on more than 25 firefighter recruits at like a second cycle, then I would do that immediately, if it's within my power to do so.
What about the certification of a list that would be continuous for at least a year?
Right.
Have
So for instance, this recruitment cycle or this list that's supposed to be established for this first 25, it
Correct.
should be good for a whole year. So if the FY17 turns and I have that vacancy pool authorization to hire a second 25, then we could do that immediately.
Okay. Just in case, because I think that there was one particular
Off the same list.
objective behind establishing that fund, and to see that two agencies so far is using it towards the latter part of the fiscal year, it defeats the whole purpose of setting aside and allocating that entire amount, like for example, $1 million to GFD,
Right.
of which you anticipated to use or utilize 126,000. When in fact some of these resources could have been allocated either internally to your department or to other entities throughout the government of Guam by the chairman. So just wanted to share that with you. Now with the special funds, I noticed that you alluded to reduction in the special fund ceilings. Is that because of the revenue basis coming in that's being generated?
Yes, it is because of the projected revenue that was given to us by BBMR. And
And
it's I guess in the big picture, it's a nominal decrease. I believe
yeah.
on Flame, it's about 14,000 overall.
Right.
The big difference is the transfer between object classes. On the 911 side of the house, we just went from 450 to 230 in contractual because we're not purchasing a 911 system. We're going to lease it. And so,
Yeah.
the difference is nominal.
Okay. So aside from the possible support or assistance from GURA, any additional external funding sources that the department is anticipating to receive in fiscal year 17?
Well, I was just informed that we've been given another $1 million out of DOI funds, which should go to hopefully an ambulance or fire truck.
Okay. And
And we
I'm
continue
sure-
to apply for more as well.
And this final question, Chief, I'm sure you anticipated this final question. What are we doing in terms of getting the Estumbo Fire Station back fully operational?
Great question, Senator. Thank you. So the Estumbo Fire Station is ready to move in. So we're just waiting on one fire truck to come out of Marco. It just went down for quick repairs. They got the part, it's repaired, it's coming out. And I will be staffing it very shortly. It's
Just
actually
for-
the very next priority after this hearing.
Thank you. So we can anticipate within 30 days? What are you looking at?
Absolutely, within 30
Okay.
days.
Just for the edification of the chairman and the members of the committee, can you just explain the stakeholders or the partnerships that were established as a result of trying to get Estumbo Fire Station back up?
Sure, but first, if I can, the caveat to standing up that station is, again, an increase in overtime.
Yeah.
So that said, getting the Estumbo Fire Station rat-free, as well as taking the opportunity while it was vacated to refurbish and rebuild the interior of the station is a great example of public-private partnership, community involvement, so on and so forth, beginning with Mayor Melissa Savares, all the way to Guam Regional Medical City, Pest Control, Pacific Pest Control, and Phil, JRNS, and Phil Roberto, JMI Edison. So several people contributed to that project. It showed great community involvement and collaboration with both public and private sectors. So we're very happy about that. We do plan on doing some recognition and a presentation.
Just so that a similar situation doesn't come up again, do you have incorporated into your budget some facility maintenance upkeep requirements?
Yes, we do, in the capital outlay for improvement. Approximately about 16,000 per station is what we plan for.
Okay, and you don't have any other facility that's similar to Astumbo prior to it being vacated?
Not as far as pest control problems, but we do have aging buildings. Tumuning Fire Station is an aged building. We do have somewhat of a seed planted to replace that station as well, but Sinahanya has the opportunity to replace Sinahanya has come to the forefront, so we're focusing on that right now. But yes, there are stations that do need some attention, and we are giving it. That said, the firefighters themselves are also not only the people that are responding, but they're also part of the community that's contributing to their own workplace and building out of pocket and rebuilding the Tumuning Fire Station, for example.
Thank you very much, Chief, and please extend our appreciation to all of our firefighters as well as your civilian employees.
Thank you.
For all of your ongoing efforts in serving our community. I was going to ask you a question with regards to 911, but there's another one of my colleagues here who really takes a look at that program intimately,
Sure.
so I'll leave it to my colleague to ask that particular question. If she doesn't raise it, then I will follow on. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I want to thank the Oversight Chair of Fire for his line of questioning and answering a lot of our questions. Thank you, Chief, and for your presentation. When I'm reading in your testimony regarding the E911 fund, and when I see ceiling cap, is that referring to the executive budget putting a ceiling cap on the E911 fund?
It's really, I know when we hear ceiling cap is such a negative connotation, but again, the reduction in the E911 fund is really small, compared to the big picture of the 911 fund. But ultimately, we are still achieving what we need to achieve with that. We are able to cover the cost of operations, and the 911 system and the 911 operations will continue throughout fiscal year 17.
It says decrease based on the issue projections, and I know that's normally tracked about 1.52 million. Is that correct?
Correct.
So when we're saying decrease, how much of a decrease are we seeing in the 911 fund? Because we worked closely to your folks, I'm not sure if you recall, to lift the cap on the $25 per line, and it's interesting to see that there was a decrease when we lift the cap on to be charged per line. So I was kind of expecting that would have gone up.
So the decrease is about 200,000 or 231,000 in decrease. And you're right, you did lift the cap on the 25 lines per large establishment, but I think I don't have a real good educated answer, only assumptions. And where maybe the increase in use of cell phones has decreased the use of house phones or even business phones for that matter. So until I can work to do a full analysis and what the actual cause of the decrease is,
Right.
then so be it. We still have yet to work with CCU to establish the administrative fee that's applied to that dollar. And I'll take full responsibility for not addressing that. We kind of put it on the back burner with all the other projects that we are going on. But again, as I've explained before in this particular forum, when the dollar is taken by the phone providers, they have no limit on what administrative fee they charge. It could be 5 cents on the dollar. It could be 25 cents on the dollar. To tell you the truth, I don't know at this point, and I should know. But it's not consistent, And I've said it before that I believe that administrative fee, if anything, should be on top of the dollar, not in the dollar. And so maybe that is something that we need to take hold of, and then we can realize the true projections of E911.
I stand corrected. You're right. I mean, it's $1 per line, but we lifted the cap on 25 lines.
Correct.
Right. Chief, thank you for the information. I didn't know. Again, the administrative cost factored on top of that dollar or within the dollar.
Yes.
That's being an issue. But yes, that could definitely have, depending on if there's no consistency with throughout our telecommunications industry and how they're assessing that. We'd like to look into that.
Yes.
But PUC or CCU normally determines
PUC. Yes.
Normally determines the admin cost on that. Is that the policy set, or is it just up to the? Can we at least know? Is it up to the telecom provider, or is it PUC determines that?
At this point, it's up to the provider on what they charge for their administrative fee.
Okay.
Because it's not specifically addressed in the dollar surcharge law.
Okay. The phase one, when are you looking at phase one with the E911 system?
Okay, so phase one is the replacement of our current system up at Office of Civil Defense. Now, if you recall, Senator, that location at Civil Defense was a redundant secondary location to our original location, which was at Tizen. But, because the Tizen building went back to the original landowner, this became our primary system. It's tight. It's inadequate for a proper 911 center, and we have to remember that it's also combined with the Guam Police Department. So our dream, phase two, is to build on the 6 acres of property up at the top of Mount Barragata an actual emergency communication center where we can have a true, appropriate 911 center that Guam deserves. And along with the SmartNet system being centrally located, or at least the administration of it will be there. That's pretty much, that's phase two. That would be the final. And then we would turn the current Office of Civil Defense 911 center into what it was meant to be, which is a redundant location, a fallback solution should the main 911 system goes down.
Last question, Chief. Thank you. We talked this morning with GPD, and we're discussing, we're talking about overtime and how we could minimize the impact to overtime costs. And, I've always brought this up regarding Public Law 3341, and we gave a little flexibility of the usage of the fund, the E911 fund, to implement a video security system. And we were talking with GPD this morning, and how that could also be incorporated into the overall initiative, working with Neighborhood Watch and all that. And I did provide some information to the chief about how this also has in many jurisdictions worked to, again, I always want to clarify that paramount with this is safety, protecting our people, but it does have the ability to reduce overtime costs in many ways. And I just wanted to share that because, every time I have the opportunity to have the audience, I think we're all onto something really big. If we can at least start to pilot in some areas and properly place this and incorporate them with the overall system. And that's why I was asking, when is phase one coming and how soon, working with GPD. We all know that this tool has really provided great information to our law enforcement authorities to have better turnaround and hard evidence on crime in our community. And again, I always say we can't beat a warm body, that can be there, but we know they can't be there 24/7. But we can definitely monitor people 24/7.
Well, Senator. You've convinced me about this way back when when we first started talking about that bill. Just so you know, in phase one, we did account for that in the specifications to be able to take advantage of that particular part of the system, video surveillance and video accessibility. So that is part of the 911 specifications to allow for that. But as far as Guam Fire Department is concerned, we we have to respond in order to do our job. Surveillance is not what we do. That is law enforcement.
Right.
That is Guam Police Department. So in terms of savings, that would probably be realized on the Guam Police side, but not so much for the Guam Fire Department. But as far as increasing our capability and efficiencies as, in regards to emergency response, definitely it's an advantage. So it is part of our future procurement of the 911 center.
All right, thank you, Chief, again, and the GFD for your presentation. And I think all my colleagues can agree that you did a wonderful job emceeing, and if I ever need anybody, fess back, But,
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your efforts for that, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just had a question, first of all, regarding your recruitment program. It seems to me that 39 positions that had been lost is really quite a few.
Yes.
Quite a bit, right? And certainly, Chief, the services that you provide are services that are life-saving all around.
Correct.
It's really just, and it's services that I hope I never would have to use, although I know that you really play a very important role. So I'm just wondering, is there a formalized recruitment program? Because I think I heard you say that the last time that you actually had recruited was in 2013?
Correct.
Okay, so the reason why I'm asking you this is that I come from the Department of Education, so we know that we need teachers in the classroom, right? So we actually have developed a recruitment program. We know that every year there are going to be teachers who will retire, who will resign, and they have to be replaced because our kids need teachers. So we have scholarship programs that had been created to ensure that we can encourage people to go into education. And so I am just wondering, for fire department, given the importance of your service, do you have that type, or what type of a recruitment program do you have that would
Sure.
encourage, our people to get into
Well,
the
well,
department?
Senator, just the same as procurement, as a line agency, we have to work with Department of Administration. On the procurement side, we have to work with GSA. We do not have the autonomy to do our own recruitment or to do our own procurement, unlike Department of Education or the Guam Airport, for that matter. So we have to follow, we have to utilize Department of Administration's Human Resource Recruitment Branch. We depend on them to do the recruiting for us. There is a process in place. It's proven. And they need to establish a list. It's just a matter of getting it done, really. But if you're suggesting that we be given that autonomy, then I'll gladly accept it.
So in order for you, in order for you to, it's not just to fill, but to even get people to be trained, and to have a pool of people who would say, okay, maybe I'll be a reserve fireman or.
Correct. So we do have the ability to establish a reserve program and a volunteer program. The difference, though, is the cost of personal protective equipment. To be a reserve police officer, you need a uniform, and I hate to keep comparing to them, but it's just an easy comparison. But you give them training, a uniform, and a sidearm, and you have law enforcement. You don't even need to issue a vehicle. Mm-hmm. They have law enforcement. In the fire service, you have to give them, pretty much the same amount of training, but you have to give them over $5,000 worth of protective gear, mm-hmm. and that's just for fighting a fire, mm-hmm. A house fire. There's also wildland gear, which mm-hmm. is another $1,500. Mm-hmm. There's also, the SCBAs and things like that, and you got to get a few more because we are bound by the 2-in, 2-out rule. Meaning for every one firefighter you bring on board, you have to bring in 2.3 more. Mm-hmm. So it's not in order to have fire service. And then, providing the apparatus, which we have already. But I personally worked with the Guam Community College, I believe it was 2010, 2011, and we established a fire academy similar to the Baleo program back then. And so the program is available. As far as takers, I haven't been asked to teach there to say that there was 10 or more people willing to take some fire courses.
So I'm just concerned. So you've had these vacancies since 2013, or
it's
39 just seems to be quite a few.
If I'm sorry you don't have the copy of the slides, I would pull it up. But on one of the slides, it shows over the years. So in 2013 or 2012, when we hired the 30, we already retired 9. In 2013, 13 left. 14 was 12. 15 was 14. And this fiscal year, already about 13, and we're projecting 21 total this fiscal year retiring. And this is a result of, 30-some years ago, 3 cycles were hired back-to-back. That's 3 cycles of 30 back-to-back. And so they're all retiring at the same time, pretty much. Looking at each other, friends, seeing friends retire, they decide to make that decision themselves. So
are we in danger?
Yes. So we take a lot of effort in risk management and doing our best to maintain the morale of our personnel, give them releases. We know that they're doing a lot of overtime. So in the off time, we have our morale get-togethers, talk to each other. I have my leaders talking to the individual firefighters who might be showing signs of exhaustion and so forth, and giving people a break and pulling on others to bring in to help as a team, as an overall organization, to work together to cover the shortfall. We are very short-staffed, but at this point today, with continued overtime accrual, we can still meet the mission in its most basic form with the 12 fire stations plus 2 rescue stations that we have.
The question that I had relative to 911 had to do with the public law, 3354, which was the act to actually establish the creation of the emergency online registry for individuals with special needs. And so we were in the law that was supposed to have been implemented. It should have been, if the effective date for the implementation of the emergency online registry for individuals with special needs was January 1st, 2016. And upon the enactment of this law, which was in June 2015, the planning was actually supposed to start. And so what is the status?
Sure. Well, the next gen 911 system has that capability to take advantage of an online registry as prescribed in the law. Our system, our current system, is very antiquated, over 25 years old, not app friendly, not software friendly. As a matter of fact, our vendor has told us it can't take any more updates, pretty much. And so we have found, and we don't want to risk completely having a catastrophic failure of our 911 system by implementing anything new to it. So that said, there's still the SNP program, Special Needs Identification Program. There's still other national programs that meet the intent of that law. Chief Barrier here is my lead action chief on it. That's working with your office, as a matter of fact. And yeah, so if you want to explain it over.
Thank you.
The main difficulty was the E91 next generation, to do a registry for the intent of the law. And with our discussions with the director from DISIT, the Director Servino, we've developed an application form And that application form will be available at our headquarters and at DISIT. They'll be able to fill it out. We'll be able to at least have those on file in order to collect potential registry personnel to put into this registry when we're able to use them. And that will be explained to the people when they do fill it out. And the other issues have also been the most appropriate way of developing this database in order to protect the privacy of these individuals. So we've been working with the director from DISIT in getting the form set up.
So the application forms have been completed.
Yes.
And so as a parent of an individual with disability, I can go to DISIT now and register my son
Yeah.
at this point.
Yes.
And so his information, and God forbid something would happen, but if there was an emergency situation, once I fill that out, would the responders be able to access the medication that he's taking? And because that would be part of what would be in the registry, right?
Correct. Well,
A special
yes.
medication.
All of that deals with a lot of gathering of information, then being able to send that information to the responders. And now, as you know, most of the times when people call 911 in an emergency, we do not have personal information. And a lot of times we can't get personal information from those people. And that's always been our number one challenge as far as even billing, is getting the information, demographic information of these people, and getting an appropriate patient history, medical history from them. This, of course, will help. The vehicle of this registry will help, but in order to get the information to them, then it needs and once we figure out exactly how this information is going to be able to be sent out to them with the next generation system, then the idea would be that we'll obtain the purchase of Android tablets in order to have our units have that availability, and that information can be then accessed through the tablets from the E91 system. But the purchase of those tablets haven't been done yet because we haven't gotten to the point of the E91 system. Rather than purchasing new hardware in order to be compatible, we want to make sure what we're going to get in order to do this registry will work properly with the E91 system that we will obtain. And
Okay, so with the upgrade of the E911 system, when do we anticipate having that completed? Or so that I, as a parent and a grandparent, would feel safe, safer with the special needs of
Yes,
our family members.
I am at the whim of the procurement process of the General Services Agency. So, as I stated in my testimony, the 911 specifications, although it has been pre-reviewed, we feel very confident that it'll pass muster. It's currently at the Attorney General for signature. Once it's done there, it goes right back to GSA and announced our IFB, and then it's a lease program, so it's installed right away. No issues on that. And so with keeping the appropriation in our FY17, we'll have the pieces in place to ensure that we can implement or install that system right away.
Okay, so once it's installed, right now we can start registering and
Correct.
getting the information so that would then be inputted into the
Correct.
new system.
With the application, he's saying we can start a database that can be inputted into the next gen, which is a fully integrated system,
Good.
and create identifying markers. That way, when you pull up a case number or use those identifying markers, it'll query the system, pull up the patient information, and then they'll be able to shoot it out to our medics, whoever responding, along with any other additional information that the 911 call taker has inputted into that case file.
That's a lot better than what we were trying to struggle with, right, Darren?
Yes.
Because we were going to deal with
We were talking about iPhones. We were talking about
smartphones, but this
Yeah.
one is clearly, it would have the direct information. So,
Correct.
so I can go back to other parents and family members who have special, because this is not just for individuals with disabilities. This really can be for our general public. Like, for example, if my aunt had medication, she can actually register, even though she doesn't have a categorized disability. She can actually register be a part of that registry so that if there is an emergency, the responders can access that information right away.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's really as a whole. So maybe we need to get the word out that they can start, filling out the information. At least they know there's some kind of movement, and that it would be to be integrated with 911 system. Correct?
Correct.
And so we're hoping before the end of the year? Yes?
With the application that we have developed with DISIT, I know in July there is a conference with GCC on disability,
Good.
and that's when we can actually present that application to the public. It's a forum, and then we'll be able to have that information put out a lot better. It's just that doing a registry like this, there's a number of challenges, and when we were in discussions early on with it, we were coming up with potential solutions, and then more challenges came up as we went through it, and trying to figure out then what would be the best way to actually obtain what we want. Because different formats that we discussed had changed and adjusted the way they were doing their format, and also DISIT presented some new formats that looks to be a lot better of a resource to use. So getting all that together and then getting to the challenge of getting that information into our database, and then how are we going to actually access that information when we do have a patient. And it's the idea is getting that to the fingertips, and the best
Right.
way would be with the current databases that we have, patient care reports that we do, using Androids on data cards that would be able to get information in real time.
So with the E911 and with 911, the police department would have access to this database as well? Okay, good.
Potentially, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and for your patience with my questions.
No problem. Good questions. I really have no further questions. Oh, wait. Your chair does.
Just one additional question, Chief. If you notice in your third paragraph, you allude to increased attrition rate over the past 4 years, and then this is necessary. It says retirement in particular has produced many vacancies in senior ranking positions requiring personnel to assume duties well above their pay grade.
Correct.
So are we looking at a promised compensation scenario?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And so as I've done my best to continue to talk with our personnel in frequent station visits to ask them to work with me, to hang in there, and have faith in the government and that we're doing the right thing and making things happen. But yes, we do run that risk of people filing desk audits. It's not a promised compensation. I never promised anybody that they were going to get paid that for filling the position temporarily. But we do have the risk of them filing a desk audit at civil service, and whatever the findings may be, we may have to. It will become an obligation. Now, again, like I've stated earlier, we've transferred, we've rotated. We're doing our best to absorb these challenges. It is a everyday battle, but I've got great leaders in place who are making good decisions so far, and so we're still able to provide the services that the island deserves.
Just in light of that, I know that there are rules and regulations as well as some laws in place, so I would recommend that you seek legal guidance either through the AG's office, so that, to me, the onus really shouldn't be on the employees, on our firefighters and our civilian employees in terms of filing a request for desk audit or consideration. The onus should always be on the responsible party, the leadership of that particular agency, so that, in fact, if we're going to ask you to assume command of one particular station and that's not equivalent to your rank, then certainly we need to go through the process that's already written out by law. And I understand that when promised compensation comes to this table, there's always questions and inquiries, but if it's carried out the way the right rules and regulations as well as the laws provide, then, and it's not prior year, then I believe that is part of your operational authorized expense. So that being considered, I don't think there's going to be too many questions raised here. aside from something that's a situation that is pronounced and is repeated year after year, then that merits some additional questions as to why is this individual, why is the position, the higher ranking position, not filled yet, so that in fact that individual will be appropriately paid. So I encourage you to please either seek legal guidance or DOA assistance in regards to this, because it really should not be the onus of our firefighters and our civilian employees to file a claim. It really should be, what's the nature of the job? You provide a critical service, you in terms of the Guam Fire Department, provide a critical and a life-saving service to this island community. And our job is to make sure that we provide you as much resources as you request that is needed, in addition to taking care of your personnel structure and addressing some of these things internally. So I ask you to please do that, and if there's any additional information you feel is necessary to provide to the committee with regards to that, then we certainly look forward to considering it.
Thank you, Senator. And if I may, I know there's no more questions, but if I can talk about promotions real quick. I wanted to emphasize the importance of promotions because I see that we're more concerned about fire recruitment versus promotions, but we need to understand that in a paramilitary organization such as the fire service or public safety in general, authority and responsibility is paramount in what we do. Orders are issued and they're to be followed, and lives are on the line because of it. And so we cannot hold a firefighter one accountable for making a decision that should have been made by a fire captain or a battalion fire chief, for that matter. And so it is important to have promotions parallel to fire recruitment or to recruitment in general. And I just want to make that last push. And command and control is very important.
And in this budget, how much should you recommend that we use for promotions?
Well, depending on the fill my vacated positions, and I can provide you that number after today, sir.
No, I'm just saying, in the budget that was submitted in February, how much did you allocate for promotions?
So we have, I'm going to go off memory, we have 13 promotions for FY16. And we allocated for 10 in FY17. So total is 874,883.
And that's already in your budget for
Yes.
this. So if we were to give you a lump sum budget, you would allocate 876,000 for promotions on your own without looking to us.
Absolutely. I will apply the budget as it was intended. Yes.
And that's why I keep telling everybody, I trust you. Maybe I shouldn't, but I trust you when I give you a lump sum budget that you're going to do what you said you wanted to do, and then not turn around and surprise me when I give you an additional amount somewhere else, utilizing that money when that was never the intent.
So Senator, I will try to give myself an out and ask that we look at the last paragraph and please allow the governor to have transfer authority to assist in any unanticipated expenditures.
He has 15% transfer authority throughout the entire government. I mean, that's more than anybody's ever had, at least in my lifetime as a government employee, and
Sounds
that's
good.
for longer than you've been alive.
Probably.
And so I'm just saying, he has lots, and so I don't understand why we're taking from the vacancy pool when you put into your own budget a request for, but then when you guys allocate it amongst yourselves downtown, you don't do it. And I keep trying to figure out why. I thought I gave them enough money to take care of this. They utilized it for something else and are now utilizing the vacancy pool that I want to try to fill vacancies. And that's not because I have a fixation on filling vacancies, but I have an obligation to make sure that we bring down the amount of cost, which is skyrocketing to over $4 million now. But more importantly, I'm concerned about the health and safety of the men and women in white and in blue who have work ungodly number of hours and are either dying with their boots on
You're
or
absolutely correct.
getting
And I
sick.
agree.
So let's try to utilize when you allocate the way that you told me you were going to, okay? But the minority leader wanted a question.
I just have a question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, how many ambulances do we currently have?
14 total.
14, and how many are operational?
They're, well, in service, meaning actually responding, is 8.
8?
Yeah, and a total 11 are operational. So we
11
have
are
3 spares.
Oh, great. Okay, because I was just looking at your testimony here, and you know, where you were talking about procuring fire trucks, tankers, and high-rise apparatus. What's the current capability of the fire department to respond to a high-rise fire?
Anything above 15 feet, we're climbing with our boots. The grabbing or having an elevated platform capability not only assists in high-rise fires primarily for rescue, getting people down to a particular floor, and then we can extricate them from that floor with that high elevated platform. The firefighting piece is secondary, but as far as our capabilities, we depend on our fire prevention, which is led by Chief Manabusan back here, to ensure that the fire prevention piece of all these establishments where our million-plus visitors and 170,000 residents of Guam frequent are fire safe. And, you know, I get a lot of phone calls, Senator, on how strict we are, but we are very strict on fire prevention to stop the fire from happening in the first place. But that does not decrease the need for a elevated platform or high-rise unit.
That's good to hear, because, you know, we're seeing more and more condominiums come up, more and more hotels coming up, and, you know, I know it's going to stretch you guys that, you know, should an incident ever happen, that, you know, there's a high-rise fire or something, you know, we want to make sure that you guys are able to perform your duties with the equipment that you guys do have. You know, on the maintenance of the vehicles, are those outsourced or are they done in-house?
About 50-60% are outsourced. Some are still on their 5-year long-term maintenance program.
Also, when you do purchase the vehicles, you do purchase them with a
Yes.
plan. Awesome. Okay, that's
Yes.
great. Thank you, Chief.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Again, Chief, thank all of you and all of your personnel for all the great work that you guys do. I see you guys around all the time, and the ambulances go by my condo every morning, or several times a night, so I just know that you guys are very, very busy. Please thank them for me and for the legislature for all that they do. And this budget hearing will now recess until Wednesday, the 6th of July at 10, when we meet with the Department of Education. Thank you very much.